Question is, a company distributed 100 shares among 7 persons, namely L, M, S, T, K, F and G, such that except G, everyone received the same number of shares. G got 5 shares less than the others. These persons exchanged shares among themselves in the manner specified below. So we have 7 people, total 100 shares are there. They have been distributed in these 7 persons, and it is given that except G, everyone is getting the same number of shares. G is getting 5 shares less than the others. So we have 7 persons. G will be getting different number of shares and everyone else will be getting same number of shares. So let these 6 persons get equal number of shares equal to X, and G will be getting 5 shares less than the others. So G will be getting X minus 5 shares. So I can write the equation as 6x plus 1 person is getting X minus 5. This will be equal to 100 shares, total 100 shares. So 7x will be equal to 105, X will be equal to 15. So that means 6 people will be getting 15 shares and G will be getting just 10 shares. I hope this is clear. Now let us read the clues. First one is L took 5 shares from K. Second one is D received shares from 2 of her friends. Then third one is M gave 3 shares to D and received 1 from G. So basically now we are being given some clues regarding the exchanges of shares they are having between them. So we'll be going to the next slide. We'll be using all the clues. First of all, let us read the questions. At the end of the 5th exchange, who had the least number of shares? So for this we need to take into account all the exchanges, and we'll also have to find out the final number of shares with everyone, then only we can answer the question. Second one is who finally had fewer shares than M. So we again need what we needed for question 1. Third one is at the end of 5th exchange, how many persons had the number of shares in prime numbers? So if we have that whole table in which we have the whole track of the transaction that happened, then we can solve this question. Fourth one is at the end of the 5th exchange, what was the difference between the number of shares held by the person with maximum shares and the number of shares held by the person with least shares. So let us go to the next slide. We'll go through the clues one by one. What we'll keep into account? We'll keep into account the name of the person. We'll keep in account the number of shares that he is initially having, then the number of shares he is finally having. After that, the number of shares that were given and received, because in the clues we can read that 2 of them did not give any share and 3 of the others did not receive any share. F was involved in only 1 exchange and received 2 shares. L had 20 shares and D and F had equal number of shares at the end of all the exchanges. There were 5 exchanges in all. D also received 1 share from S. So basically the terms that we can notice in the clues are initial number of shares, final number of shares, given shares and received number of shares. So let's go to the next slide. We'll form such a table. So we have L, M, S, D, K, F and G. These are the people. Now we have to take into account their initial number of shares, then the shares that they are receiving and the number of shares that they are giving, and at last after that we have to take care of the final number of shares that they are having. So in the last slide we calculated that all others G were having 15 shares. So initially all will be having 15 shares because these were distributed by the company, and G was having 10 shares. Now let us read the clues that are given to us and then we'll try to fill our table using the direct clues first. So the first clue is L took 5 shares from K. So that means L received 5 shares. And from whom did he receive? From K. So that means K would have given 5 shares. Then second clue is D received shares from 2 of our friends. So we do not know who are those friends who are giving shares to D. Now third one is M gave 3 shares to D. So M gave 3 shares to D. That means D would have received 3 shares. So in the second point it was given that D received shares from 2 of her friends, and in the third point it is written that M gave 3 shares to D. So one of the friends who is giving shares to D is M over here. We need to find one more friend who is giving shares to D. So M gave 3 shares to D, so D received 3 shares from M and M would have given those 3 shares. Also M received 1 from G, so if he is receiving from G, then G would have given 1 share and M would have received 1 share. I hope this is clear. Then the fourth point is 2 of them did not give any share and 3 of the others did not receive any share. So there are 3 people who are not receiving any share. So they will be receiving 0 shares, and there are 2 people who are not giving any shares. So 2 people will be giving 0 shares. Fifth point is F was involved in only one exchange and received 2 shares. So F will just be receiving 2 shares. Sixth point is L had 20 shares and D and F had equal number of shares at the end of the exchanges. So L is having finally 20 shares and D and F will be having equal number of shares after all the exchanges will occur. Then the seventh point is there are 5 exchanges in all. Eighth is D also received 1 share from S. So D is also receiving 1 share from S. So we'll just add 1 share to D and S will be giving 1 share. So now let us try to fill the table. See, for L we have final 20 shares. Initially he was having 15, he received 5, so now he has 20. So how many should he give so that he has finally 20 shares? He must give 0 shares. Similarly for M, initially M was having 15, he received 1, gave 3, so he'll be having 13 shares finally. For S we do not know the received number of shares. For D also we do not know. For K also. For F also, and for G also. So now in the fourth loop it was written that 2 of them did not give any share and 3 of the others did not receive any share. So L is receiving, M is receiving, D is receiving, F is receiving. So we have 3 blank spaces in receiving and 3 people are not receiving any shares. So S will be receiving 0, K will be receiving 0 and G will be receiving 0. So now we have complete data for G. G had 10 initially, he gave 1, so he'll be having 9 finally. It was also given to us that F was involved in only one exchange and received 2 shares, so F will not be giving away any share. So finally F will be having 17 shares. Now it was also given that D and F have equal number of shares. So if F has 17, D will also be having finally 17 shares. So 15 were initially with D. He received 4 in total. So 15 plus 4, 19. So how many should he give away so that he remains with 17 finally? So he should give away 2 shares finally. For S also we have all the data. So finally the number of shares with S will be 14. Because he had 15 initially and he gave 1. So now our table is complete. Let us go to the questions directly. So this is the final table that we have. The first question is, at the end of the 5th exchange, who had the least number of shares? So which one has the least number of shares? 9 is the least number of shares and G is having 9 shares. So option B will be the correct answer. Second question is, who finally had fewer shares than M? So M is having 13 shares. Let us find out how many are having or who is having less than 13 shares. So we have K over here and G over here who are having less shares than M over here. So it is K and G. Option A will be the correct answer. Third question is, at the end of the 5th exchange, how many persons had the number of shares in prime numbers? So 13 is a prime number, 17 is a prime number, 17 is a prime number. So 3 people are having shares in prime numbers. Fourth is, at the end of the 5th exchange, what was the difference between the number of shares held by the person with maximum shares and the number of shares held by the person with least shares? So maximum shares are 20 and they are with L, and the least number of shares is 9. So answer will be 11 because we want the difference between these two. So I hope the solution is clear to you. If there's any doubt, you can ask again. Thank you.